I think understanding how a house is made is pretty foundational to a civilization. So I've got you also from Australia. A great channel, by the way, the NFSA. Oh, it's a little cut off there, sorry. NFSA films that captured kind of everyday life in Australia, and they have a whole Life in Australia series. Check out their channel. These videos are a little distorted because I'm speeding them up or slowing them down. But you go watch their channel for the full high quality version. I had to open with a color one because we're gonna go back to post-war program again, kind of like we did with the post-war training programs. This is the post-war how to build a brick house, post-war home construction guide from 1946. So see if you can count how many people or how many services or how many different industries are involved in this simple task of building a brick house.
No matter how large or how small. The examples to be shown are applied to the construction of a house, but the principles involved may also be applied to larger types of construction. Besides good principles or methods, successful construction is dependent on 1. Good
There's the architects,
2. Good
designers,
and 3. Good teamwork. Firstly,
and draftsmen. Might all be 3 or 4 different people just doing that one job.
Receive the footings. The wooden hurdles correctly placed and marked with a saw cut so that the setting out lines can be stretched between them. To strengthen the concrete, steel reinforcing rods are used, which form reinforced concrete beams when complete. Each length is fabricated before laying
Foundations.
The rods are twitched together with tie wire at all crossings. This job employs a continuous concrete mixing plant. The mixer can deliver large quantities of concrete for any period required. Watch how the materials go into the hopper. First, the aggregate.
And sure, we all know that cement and more brick mortar and everything is important, but many people have never touched a bag of cement in their life, don't know where to buy it, how to make it, or even what it's comprised of.
Now, the cement.
Just a foundational material that we should all be familiar with.
The proportions of these materials vary according to the strength of mixture required. The correct amount of water is added whilst the materials are being mixed in the revolving drum. When mixed for the required length of time, the concrete is conveyed to its position on the job. The concrete is rammed or puddled in between and around the reinforcing bars, and lime must be slaked before mixing with sand to form mortar, and lime should stand for several days before using. The bricklayer turns the mortar.
Consider too, like, if you have seen house construction before, consider how different this is from what we do today. There actually is not going to, years, spoiler alert, there's not actually a huge ton of difference, except for the way foundations are made and for the different kinds of electrical trades and things like that. You'll see different kinds of roofing structures all around the world. So it's not like there's one right way to build a brick house.
Water over with his trowel to make it smooth and workable. The first course on top of the concrete footing is laid. Piers are bonded into the walls to support the floor bearers. These attached piers are in line with the sleeper piers. The damp course is most important, and in this position it prevents dampness rising in the wall. Here, the architect inspects the placing of the damp course. Wall ties are necessary at regular intervals both horizontally and vertically. Air bricks are essential for underfloor ventilation. They also ventilate the wall cavity. The reinforced concrete floors are supported on a brick corbel course. When completed, this course is grouted in with cement mortar to make it solid. The drainer is at his work whilst the remainder of the building proceeds.
So we've got the bricklayer, we've got the foundation builders, and there's excavators that were probably in there at some point, the designers and the architects. Now we're into the plumbing and pipe layers.
Are carefully taken through external walls and turned up to floor level to receive the waste from interior plumbing fittings. Note the different fittings necessary. The sewerage service pipes are being laid to a predetermined fall. The drainer seals all collars with cement mortar so that no leaks can occur. Inspection.
That's the other thing when you're underground. You don't see it because it's underground and it's buried in the dirt or under a yard. But there's actually a very important angle of flow that has to be maintained. So you're not talking about a bunch of monkeys dropping some pipe in the ground. You're talking about like people who really know the physics and requirements of this stuff to make it all work, or else you'd have water and sewage backing up into your house. And that's not just a modern invention. This is, we're talking about 1946 here.
Openings are provided, particularly at points where the drains change direction. The building is up to floor level, and before the floor timbers are fixed in position, ant caps are placed on top of all piers to prevent the timbers becoming infested by white ant. Note the sleeper pier is opposite the attached wall pier. The bearers are then placed into position and the floor joists correctly spaced on top of the bearers. The brickwork is up to windowsill height. The window reveals are formed and the undersill flashing is carefully placed in position. The fireplace and chimney breasts are being built, and the window frames are lifted into position and securely attached to the brickwork where it abuts against the frame. The construction of a corner window. Note the corner column being placed inside the wood construction to support the steel angles, which in turn are necessary to support the brickwork over the windows. Note flashing at sill level again. A flashing is also built in above all window and door openings to prevent dampness dropping or running down the...
So flashing, incredibly important. And on many older houses, if this starts to wear out, that's where you're getting the leaks in your roof or in your foundation, or the walls that are built on top of your foundation. And there's also, you can have a wooden foundation instead of cement foundation. In this case, it looks like it's cement brick, so it's a little different. But, these are terms that are thrown around if you're at any hardware store. You can ask for, even today, for these things.
The cavity and lodging on top of the frames. The moisture passes...
The flashing is usually a kind of a tin.
...outside through weep holes. The architect is inspecting the window construction to see that it has been carried out according to specification, and the bricklayer is checking his levels to prepare for the wall plate. As a finale to his work, the bricklayer builds and completes the chimney. The chimney tray, which acts as a damp course, is placed into position. Note the weep holes which are left in the brickwork to allow moisture trapped by the tray to escape to the outside. Meanwhile, the carpenters are busy on the ground cutting and preparing the roof timbers. Note the bird's mouth cut in this rafter for fixing to the wall plate. In the roof, the carpenters are nailing the ceiling joists to a hanging beam. Down below, the carpenters are cramping the flooring boards for securely nailing to each floor joist. In the roof again, they are assembling and nailing into position the pre-cut roofing timbers. The roof construction is final.
One of the main things that you might see different in house building today is prefabrication. So prefabricated roof joists might be built and engineered actually in a plant and then brought on site and assembled from parts, or brought in wholesale and lifted into place with a crane. Likewise with the flooring. The flooring is often got a sheet of plywood, or they call it omnidirectional strand board, OSB, as a base, and then you just put your planks or your laminate or your linoleum or whatever on top of that. So there's a couple differences. And then the other one is the windows here. In this case, they'll have a glazer that comes in and installs the glass in the windows, whereas we'll often get them prefabricated in factory and built to specification there and then delivered and installed.
Finally inspected by the architect as it nears completion. This tradesman is plugging the wall for the fixing of a door jamb, whilst an electrician sets a recessed switch box in the wall and securely cements it in position. The door jamb is now lifted into place, plumbed and nailed to the plugs. A last glimpse of the bricklayer is seen as he carefully places the capping course, thus completing the chimney.
For those of you that might own a home or one in the future, the door frame, you can get a door that's already attached to a door frame that's suitable size for it. So you need to, when you measure, your door and then the door frame around it, or how big the opening will be when you make your request for what size of door you need. So, and then if you do go to a store like a Home Depot or whatever to order a door, you need to tell them whether it's pre-hung on the door jamb or these door openings that are shown here in the video or not, because you can just slide it in if it is. Otherwise, you have to make sure all these angles and everything are all proper and fit the door once you've installed it.
A last glimpse of the bricklayer is seen as he carefully places the capping course, thus completing the chimney. Before the tiler commences to lay the tiles, the roof plumber must fix the eaves gutter because the tiler works from the gutter upwards. The roof tiler is the next tradesman to come onto the job. His job is to cover and make watertight the roof framework erected by the carpenter. We now see the roof tiler carrying stacks of tiles onto the roof ready for laying. Watch how carefully and easily he walks along the open roof and stacks the tiles on the battens ready for laying.
So again, a regional thing. Many climates will have tiles, and others will have asphalt shingles, which is really common in North America. But these are actually the ceramic tiles.
The plumber, in the meantime, is connecting the downpipe to the eaves gutter. Back again with the roof tiler, we see him cutting and fitting the tiles to the hip. Watch how he marks and cuts the tile to the required shape. After the tiler has laid the roofing tiles around the chimney, the plumber fixes a lead flashing to make watertight the junction of the roof with the chimney. We see him raking out the brickwork joints for insertion of step flashing to face of chimney.
So that's one of those places where you'll get a leak around a chimney is when the flashing is broken, eroded, or when roofers have changed improperly changed the shingles or the tiles and not replaced the flashing correctly.
The flashing is securely fixed into position with lead plugs, and the joint is then pointed with cement mortar. Having completed the laying of the tiles, the tiler proceeds to make his work watertight by setting into position the capping tiles on the hips and ridges. Then, to finish his work, the roof tiler securely ties the tiles to the fixing batten with copper wire. A small lug is cast on the tile for this purpose. Once the roof covering is on, the structure is complete, and the plasterer begins the work of adding the finishing surface to the walls. After this operation, the ceilings may then be fixed. The painter, who meanwhile has been prime coating all painted timber and joinery, now gives the cement-rendered walls a priming coat. Electrical switches are fixed and a neat cover plate completes the job. In the kitchen, the plumbing fittings have been placed in position and a plumber fixes the water taps. The carpenters have built into position the kitchen cupboards and fix a skirting to the wall. On the exterior, the painters are busy applying the final coat of paint. This is exacting work and requires careful consideration and careful application. Meanwhile, the carpenters are fitting and hanging the sashes to the box frames. Note the sash weights, which must be of the correct weight in order to balance the glazed sash.
That's another piece of hidden architecture that you don't and design that you don't see every day. Those are lead weights, specifically connected to strings, you could say, or wires that attach to the top of the window. So when you slide the window up, the weight pulls it down, so it's a lot easier to move because actually sheets of glass are really heavy. But this is all hidden within the sash around the window.
And note how smoothly the sash runs up and down because it has been correctly fitted. Having completed the building, attention must now be given to outside requirements. Paths must be formed, steps built, and all work left clean and tidy on completion. The architect, builder, and everybody concerned is pleased and satisfied with the result of this project because it is the product of good planning, good craftsmanship, and good teamwork. In this film, you have seen the importance of coordinated effort on the part of all trades. May it serve as a guide to all who are interested in good construction, no matter how small your task. Your part is necessary in order to achieve a successful objective. Remember, teamwork ensures success.
So that's great. I really appreciate seeing this video and seeing all these steps. There's been 15 to 20 different trades involved. There's still just as many involved today, dozens. Some of them are off-site and some of them are on-site, though. Today it might be a little different a proportion of on and off site, but you get the idea. Not a lot has changed in Western houses in this Australia either, but Western and Commonwealth countries will all have very similar building methods. And really, none of these trades are beyond your own personal ability to grasp and understand. You might not memorize all of the specific building codes, which have kind of complicated things and made them more difficult to do on your own. But still, you can learn any one of these individual trades in just a few days of study and practice and get good enough just through time. But the one thing I wanted to highlight was just how expert these individuals were and how really artisanship at its finest. And it's all around us every day and we don't notice it. Now, I'm a huge fan of brick buildings, so I just wanted to make sure we dug into that one. Sure, we can dig into some log houses too if you want. Thanks for coming out. Please subscribe, share with a friend, and drop a comment what you learned out of this video. See you there.